One of the most potent tools in the Sigma INFJ's arsenal is their intuition. As dominant, introverted intuitives, INFJs absorb subtle patterns in the environment and people around them. They don't just listen to what's said. They read between the lines and decode intentions. This allows them to anticipate other people's moves long before they're made. Unlike extroverts who rely on real-time feedback and interaction, Sigma INFJs can sit back in silence and mentally simulate the social chessboard with startling clarity. They often know what others will say, feel, or decide before the person consciously knows it themselves. It's not magic. It's a highly refined internal compass built on observation, empathy, and synthesis of abstract information. Their ability to remain detached from social hierarchies gives them an edge in any group dynamic. Sigmas don't seek validation, popularity, or leadership for its own sake. Instead, they move independently of the pack, observing from the margins while remaining largely unaffected by external pressure. This refusal to play by conventional rules often throws others off balance. While alphas dominate and betas conform, the Sigma INFJ floats outside of those roles, choosing solitude over conformity and authenticity over performance. This disinterest in dominance paradoxically gives them power. Because they're uninvested in social games, they can't be easily manipulated, and they can't be threatened by the things that sway others. Check out our newly released INFJ Playbook. The link is in the description of this video. Emotionally, the Sigma INFJ has a unique capacity to connect deeply with others while remaining fundamentally unreadable. They see into people, often offering profound insights that leave others feeling deeply understood. And yet, they rarely reveal themselves in return. This emotional asymmetry creates an aura of mystery that both intrigues and disarms. People open up to the Sigma INFJ, often confessing more than they intended, drawn in by the INFJ's natural calm and quiet intensity. But the Sigma INFJ rarely reciprocates with equal vulnerability, maintaining control of the interaction while appearing humble and kind. Their internal world is rich and filled with long-term visions. They're not playing for short-term wins. They think in terms of years. While others chase immediate gratification or public recognition, Sigma INFJs are often working on long-term goals that align with their personal mission. They invest their time and energy selectively, waiting for the right moment to act, when circumstances align with their insight. When they do move, it often seems to outsiders like they've made the perfect decision effortlessly, when in fact it's the result of quiet, sustained introspection. Sigma INFJs don't engage in ego-driven competition. They don't need to prove their intelligence, win debates, or dominate conversations. They let others talk, make assumptions, and underestimate them. And in that silent space, they gather information, observe reactions, and form conclusions. They win not by overpowering, but by outlasting and outthinking. Even when it appears effortless, their impact is significant. In teams, they subtly steer outcomes by planting ideas in ways that make others think it was their own conclusion. In relationships, they guide emotional tone by intuitively knowing what the other person needs. In solitude, they cultivate ideas, strategies, and systems that are often 10 steps ahead of their peers. All of this happens beneath the surface, invisible to the untrained eye, but undeniable in its effect. The Sigma INFJ doesn't aim to outsmart anyone. They're not driven by pride or superiority, but their unique blend of independence, insight, emotional intelligence, and quiet strategy means that they often do without lifting a finger to prove it. It's not that they try to outsmart the world. It's that the world simply can't keep up. Sigma INFJs don't need to deceive or outmaneuver anyone through force or spectacle. Their brilliance lies in how naturally they stay 5 steps ahead without announcing it, and how their subtle influence ripples outward while they remain still. Sigma INFJs don't look outward for approval or direction. They operate from a deep internal code, guided by values, vision, and meaning rather than trends or expectations. That means they're rarely distracted by the noise that consumes others, the drama, the popularity contests, the race for attention. They stay centered, and in doing so, they observe what others miss. While most people are responding, reacting, performing, or defending, The Sigma INFJ is simply watching, absorbing, analyzing. They are the still point in the turning world. Because they are so deeply attuned to people and patterns, they can often foresee outcomes with uncanny precision. This is not some vague psychic ability. It's a kind of psychological fluency that combines emotional intelligence, abstract reasoning, and years of quiet observation. In a room full of people, the Sigma INFJ can tell who's genuine, who's posturing, who's anxious, and who's hiding something, all without needing to be told. Their minds are always connecting dots others didn't even know were there. And yet, despite this immense internal processing power, Sigma INFJs don't flaunt it. They don't need to dominate discussions or win arguments to validate themselves. In fact, they often let others believe they've won just to maintain harmony or protect their own privacy. The truth is, Sigma INFJs rarely feel the need to explain their reasoning or prove their insight. They would rather let reality unfold in a way that naturally reveals the truth, often confirming what they already knew without ever having to say it. This patience is one of their sharpest tools. While the world chases quick wins, Sigma INFJs are content to play the long game. They are masters of delayed gratification, knowing when to wait, when to act, and when to disappear entirely. If they sense that a situation or relationship no longer aligns with their values or long-term vision, they'll quietly withdraw, without confrontation, drama, or need for explanation. And when they reappear, they've already evolved, often leaving others stunned by the silent transformation. This ability to disappear is part of their psychological advantage. Sigma INFJs can make themselves invisible in plain sight. They can blend into environments without drawing attention, giving them full access to observe without being perceived as a threat. In doing so, they gather enormous insight while maintaining complete control over how much of themselves they reveal. This invisible presence often makes others underestimate them, a mistake many don't realize until much later, by which time the Sigma INFJ has already acted with quiet precision. Another edge lies in their adaptability. INFJs are judgers, which means they like structure, but their intuition allows them to be remarkably fluid in how they pursue their goals. Sigma INFJs know when to let go of plans, change strategies, or pivot directions, all while staying true to their larger mission. This balance of structure and fluidity allows them to maneuver through life like water, subtle, silent, and unstoppable. While others dig in their heels or collapse under change, Sigma INFJs glide around obstacles with grace, recalibrating as needed. What's even more disarming is their calm. Sigma INFJs rarely react with panic or aggression. They respond, rather than react. Even under stress, they remain composed, relying on inner clarity and emotional control. This gives them a distinct advantage in high-pressure environments. While others unravel, they stay lucid. They observe the emotional temperature of the room and adjust accordingly, sometimes even influencing the group mood with nothing more than their presence and a few carefully chosen words. Their speech, too, is part of their power. When they do speak, they often cut straight to the heart of the matter. Their words are not wasted. They are selected with care, layered with meaning, and delivered with quiet conviction. This can be unnerving to people used to surface-level conversation. The Sigma INFJ's insight often feels surgical, gentle in tone, but piercing in substance. They can disarm egos, expose hidden truths, or shift entire perspectives with a single sentence. People may walk away from interactions with a Sigma INFJ feeling changed, seen, or challenged, without fully understanding why. That's because the Sigma INFJ's influence doesn't scream, it echoes. Their presence lingers in people's thoughts, not because of what they did, but because of who they are and how they made others feel. This is one of the quietest ways they outsmart the world, not by force or superiority, but by being deeply, inescapably real in a world obsessed with performance. The longer one observes a Sigma INFJ, the clearer it becomes that their ability to outsmart others doesn't stem from competition, but from a complete transcendence of it. They are not driven by the same things that drive most people. Their game isn't about dominance, attention, wealth, or even recognition. It's about alignment. Inner alignment with their values, outer alignment with their vision, and situational alignment with the timing and flow of life. This disconnection from mainstream motivations makes them incredibly difficult to predict, manipulate, or outmaneuver. They operate according to a logic that is not immediately visible, but that always reveals itself in the long run. Their detachment from conventional systems grants them a clarity others rarely possess. Sigma INFJs don't just see what is, they see what's beneath, what's becoming, and what's inevitable. They sense the psychological atmosphere of a room, like some people read the weather. They can detect the power structures no one talks about, the insecurities people hide behind confidence, and the contradictions buried in polished facades. While others are fixated on what's being said or done on the surface, the Sigma INFJ is quietly watching the why and the motive. This awareness often gives them the power to walk away from situations that trap others. Toxic jobs, false friendships, unbalanced partnerships. Sigma INFJs don't cling. They don't stay to prove a point or salvage an image. Once they recognize misalignment, they retreat, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. They understand that preserving their peace and authenticity is a greater win than any ego-driven victory. And in walking away, they often gain something most people never do: freedom. True freedom. The kind that allows them to build their lives quietly, on their own terms, without sacrificing depth for acceptance. They are internal strategists. While most people prepare for the visible battlefield, meetings, arguments, negotiations, Sigma INFJs prepare at the level of energy and psychology. They understand that most conflicts are won or lost before they begin, in the way you perceive the people involved, in how you read their emotional tendencies, in how you position yourself internally. They don't react to aggression with more aggression. They disarm it with calm precision. They don't get baited into emotional traps, because they've already sensed the pattern behind them. And when they do respond, it's often in a way that leaves the other person confused, not because they lost, but because they never quite understood what game was being played. While others collapse under failure, isolation, or rejection, the Sigma INFJ often grows stronger. Their alone time is not a punishment, it's a forge. In solitude, they sharpen their intuition, restore their emotional clarity, and refine their vision. They return from these internal journeys with more insight, more creativity, and more calm than before. What may seem like disappearing to the world is actually an act of self-reconstruction. This is how they keep outsmarting everyone, not with new tactics, but with renewed understanding. Their mind is a private universe, constantly processing layers of information: emotional, symbolic, relational, spiritual. They often see how events connect across time, how today's minor detail could become tomorrow's key turning point. It's not linear logic that guides them. It's an intuitive, non-linear flow that helps them draw insights from seemingly unconnected places. This makes them not only excellent problem solvers, but also profound thinkers. When they speak, it often feels like they're addressing not just the moment, but the arc of something bigger, something others haven't even realized is unfolding yet. This perception allows them to make decisions that seem illogical to others in the short term, but deeply wise in the long term. People may question why they left a good job, cut off a seemingly stable relationship, or turned down a lucrative opportunity. But months or years later, when the truth behind those decisions comes to light, it becomes clear they were operating from a depth of knowing that others couldn't access. They see the iceberg beneath the water when everyone else is fixated on the tip. That foresight, however, doesn't come with fanfare. Sigma INFJs rarely announce their insights unless necessary. They don't interrupt conversations to correct or outshine. They let others speak, let the drama unfold, and remain rooted in their quiet inner clarity. This restraint is often mistaken for passivity, but it is, in fact, power under control. They know that speaking prematurely can disrupt the process of natural revelation. So they wait, watching, listening, absorbing, and when they finally choose to speak or act, it lands like thunder. Another dimension of their silent genius is how they blend empathy with precision. INFJs are known as the most empathetic type in the MBTI spectrum, but the Sigma INFJ takes that empathy and filters it through razor-sharp discernment. They feel people deeply, but they are not naive. They can walk into a room and immediately sense who is being authentic, who is projecting, who is hiding pain behind a smile. They empathize with everyone, but align with very few. This selective loyalty is part of what gives them such strength. They do not give their energy away freely, and they're never trapped by the illusion of connection. Because they process human behavior on such a deep level, Sigma INFJs can often read someone better than that person knows themselves. They pick up on micro-expressions, tone shifts, body language, word choice, sensing the hidden patterns behind communication. This gives them a quiet upper hand in nearly every interaction. They don't argue. They disarm. They don't dominate. They redirect. Their power is subtle but decisive, like water slowly cutting through stone. The INFJ's introverted intuition, extrovert feeling, and introverted thinking cognitive functions creates a balance of logic and emotion that is rare. Their feeling functions allows them to sense the needs of others with ease, while their thinking functions lets them analyze and deconstruct ideas with clinical precision. This internal blend means they can intuit the right emotional response and the correct logical answer at the same time. They don't have to choose between intellect and compassion. They embody both. And this is often what sets them apart. While others oscillate between head and heart, Sigma INFJs navigate through both, weaving a tapestry of insight that few can comprehend. Their ability to remain silent during chaos is often their most underestimated strength. Silence gives them time to see what's really going on, what's being avoided, what narrative is being shaped, and what isn't being said. Their stillness becomes a shield. It becomes a strategy. And sometimes it becomes a revelation. People come undone in front of Sigma INFJ silence because in that space they're faced with themselves. There is no distraction, no noise, just presence. And that presence can be more confronting than any argument. Check out our newly released INFJ playbook. The link is in the description of this video.